I don't know why you're here. You're confused whether you should get married or not. Before I thought it's by default to get married and to raise family. And then as I got closer to God and met other people who started going on vocation, becoming brothers and priests, I thought, wait, isn't being single better? I started to have this mindset that like being single is better than getting married. And I even have there's someone praying for me every day for me to be a priest. And currently, I don't want to be a priest. I want to get married. But I want to share some stuff that I learned, and it's very insightful. It's given me a lot of clarity about the marriage versus singleness aspect, and I think it will help you. So we're gonna go to First Corinthians chapter 7, verse 8. It says, "Now to the unmarried and the widows I say, it is good for them to stay unmarried, as I do. But if they cannot control themselves, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion." So when Paul writes it, it's kind of like, really, Paul? Is it that easy to not be married? Like, okay, I get it, you can do it, but like, what about me? I don't know. And I have started to realize, like, oh, it's because we've been so conditioned. Look at all the pop songs and dramas. It's all about romance. It's all about the feelings. It's all about in the Philippines, we call it the kilig factor. It's like the excitement and the chemistry. But I realized that these are not actually the purposes of marriage, and we'll talk about this in a bit. So Paul says that they shouldn't marry, but if they can't control themselves, meaning like probably sexually, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. I think what Paul is saying and attributing here is that God's design for marriage is that there is loyalty in in union, sexually, physically, emotionally, and yeah, without that union and revolting against God's design, it will lead to burning with passion, which probably means adultery or something like that. And then in verse 10, Paul says, "To the married, I give this command, not I, but the Lord. A wife must not separate from her husband. But if she does, she must remain unmarried or else be reconciled to her husband. And her husband must not divorce his wife." Now, this is a good verse because it says that loyalty and commitment is really important. Nowadays, it's normalized to have multiple divorces when God's design for marriage was to not part no matter what. And then where it gets a bit more tricky. But in verse 25, it says, "Now about virgins, I have no command from the Lord, but I give a judgment as one who by the Lord's mercy is trustworthy." In verse 28, it says, "But if you do marry, you have not sinned, and if a virgin marries, she has not sinned. But those who marry will face many troubles in life, and I want to spare you this." Now, it sounds like Paul is saying, oh, you should marry. Oh, you shouldn't marry. Oh, you should marry. You shouldn't. What Paul is just saying is that if you do marry, expect that there will be troubles, that there will be affairs that you have to focus on, like children and paying bills and providing for these for multiple people and nurturing them and understanding how to build a loving family. Now, I'm not saying these are bad or that these are distractions, but these are things that Paul wants to warn us about so that we're ready for it. Just look around. There are a lot of parentless children, and look how effective they are. If we were to follow God's instructions and to be prepared, then by the time, if you are called to be married, you'll be ready. And it's like Paul knows what we're thinking because in the next verse he says, "What I mean, brothers and sisters, is that the time is short. From now on, those who have wives should live as if they do not, those who mourn as if they did not, those who are happy as if they were not, those who buy something as if it were not theirs to keep. For this world in its present form is passing away." Now, Paul isn't saying that your problems aren't important. What he's saying is that all these things, these attachments that we have in this world, they're very temporary. And like sad to say, even the people that you're in love with. Now I know there's the nuance that you'll still be married in heaven, but then let's not talk about that. Let's talk about how we romanticize and pedestalize the house, the car, the wife, or the husband, and all these things that will wither away once we die. Yet there's something eternal, and that eternal is thing is the Lord's love. In the next verse, he says, "I would like you to be free from concern. An unmarried man is concerned about the Lord's affairs, how he can please the Lord. But a married man is concerned about the affairs of the Lord, how he can please his wife, and his interests are divided." Now, personally, I've never been married, but I've been in relationships before. And I realized just how much my focus like diverts. Like I used to be against it. Oh, like, oh, you shouldn't be in a people used to say, don't you shouldn't be in a relationship. You should focus on your work. And I thought like, That's kind of dumb because what if I do get in a relationship? I won't be ready. I won't have the experience. But now I'm starting to see what it means. Because when you want to devote yourself to something, like I am trying to devote myself to the Lord, if I have a romantic relationship while I'm still developing, it's like I'm doing 50% of each thing. So I'm not really making that much progress. And the best part is when we grow to love the Lord more, we'll become more loving towards other people. So it's like I was not being efficient. I realized my mistakes. And in verse 35, Paul says, I am saying this for your own good, not to restrict you, but that you may live in a right way in undivided devotion to the Lord. So I'm not saying that you should get married or you should stay single because I said so. What I'm saying is you better know what you're getting yourself into so that you can prepare because you can have to reevaluate. Will I be able to devote myself to the Lord if I get married? And this made me realize, like, oh, marriage isn't like lower than singleness. They're both gifts from the Lord. And whatever we do, whether we are single or we get married, we glorify God. These are both things that they're both vehicles and instruments we can use to glorify our Creator. But how do we know if we're supposed to be in a relationship or if we're supposed to be married? The thing is, I don't fully know. What I can tell is that there is a waiting season. And in that waiting season, it means we are not trying to rush into anything. We're not trying to make a decision on our own. We're waiting for God to call us into making the decision. And the reason for the waiting is one, to prepare us and help us develop, but two, so that we can learn to trust the Lord. Now, I know you want to know everything, you want to plan everything. I know you. I know you want to have specific milestones, and by 2025, by 2028, you want to meet the love of your life. 2030, you want to make $1 million. I've been that person. All I can say is that it might sound weird, but listen to me. No marriage is greater than the real marriage, the eternal marriage, which is, get this, marriage with Jesus as the church. In the Bible, it says that Jesus is the husband and the church is the wife. Now, what are the roles of the husband and the wife? A husband's role, according to God's design, is to lead and to love. The wife's role, according to the Bible, is to submit and to help. And I know it sounds weird if you're a guy watching this and you're saying, oh, I'm married to Jesus, but he's a man. Trust me, it's like the greatest gift ever because his love is everlasting. It's deep and it's selfless. So us as the church, as the wife in this marriage, what we have to do is submit our plans to him. I know you want to know when you're going to meet your future spouse, but we're already married to Jesus. He already loves us. So just submit to his plan and he will lead you step by step. You might not get all the answers, but do you trust him? Because if you did, you wouldn't need all the answers. If you have faith in your husband, you wouldn't need to know everything. You wouldn't need to check his phone. You wouldn't need to ask every single detail. You just trust him. Now, Jesus has never sinned, and he has been here from the beginning and the end, and he's righteous, and he stands up for what is good. So let's trust him. If you're in a waiting season and you want answers, you want to know how long it will take, trust him. This goes beyond relationships. It could be in career. You want to know when you'll finally do what you love, just trust him. Just continue doing what you're doing. Pray to him more and listen to what he's telling you to do and just follow. Wives, submit yourself unto your husbands as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be their own husbands in their thing. So if you're going to be in a marriage, submit to Christ, love him. Because the more we learn to love him, the more we be able to love future spouse or anyone else. And one last thing I want to give before I end this. We've been lied to. We thought that the purpose of marriage is love. In actuality, it's not. The purpose of marriage is to glorify God. This is just a way to glorify God. We've been so conditioned by movies, right? They think it's all about love and all love can conquer everything. But no, what about our path? What about our journey? What about our growth, our spiritual journey? Isn't that important too? Love is important, yes, but it's not the full purpose of marriage. God loves it when we are loving to other people. And marriage is one way to do that, but it's not the only way. You don't have to be married to live a good life. You can be single. You can be single and then get married. But all I can tell you is whether you're single right now or you're waiting on the Lord, just trust. Everything will turn out the way they're supposed to be. The more we resist, the longer it'll take. But the more that we trust, the deeper we'll be able to love Him and grow as His church. God bless you. See you tomorrow.